I'm Chris Carter of the Locked On Steelers podcast. We have a breaking news updates to talk about, and that's because Adam Schefter of ESPN reports that the Pittsburgh Steelers have indeed signed an extension for Chris Boswell, their kicker. It is a new 4-year extension, $20 million that includes $12.5 million guaranteed, according to his agent, Jeff Nally, confirming this ties Justin Tucker for making Chris Boswell the highest paid kicker in NFL history. Now, Steelers fans, this was something that we were wondering about, waiting on. Danny Smith said, the team special teams, so don't worry about it. It's happening. Danny Smith was right because it did happen. And the Steelers were never going to let Boswell have to worry about anything. For those who think, oh, man, why are you paying a whole lot of money for a kicker when you need to fix the offensive line and you're not sure your quarterback is? It's because Chris Boswell's on a different level. And I want to make it clear in this video that that man has earned that money to be up in there in the Justin Tucker conversation. And I talked about this with Josh Taylor a couple weeks back when we looked at this, because we took a question from a caller on the Locked On Steelers podcast who asked, is Chris Boswell Hall of Fame material? And I said, not yet. But if he plays the length of his career the way that all other Hall of Famers and presumed Hall of Famers have played, he's going to be. Because when you look at his numbers and his percentages, he's better than the Hall of Fame kickers. Now, for the record, there are two kickers that are two pure kickers who are in the Hall of Fame. There's a couple guys that were also kickers, but we're talking about pure kickers, guys who played that. There was Jan Stenerud and Morton Anderson. They were the two they're the two Hall of Fame kickers that are in there right now. We presume that Adam Vinatieri will get into the Hall of Fame, but he has to wait until about 2024 before he's eligible because he retired in 2019. When you look at those three guys, the highest field goal percentage of them was Vinatieri with 83.8%. Morton Anderson was 79.7%. Jan Stenerud, 66.8%. And granted, those percentages are relative to their time periods. But you look at where Chris Boswell and Justin Tucker are. Justin Tucker is 91.1% on all of his field goals in his entire career. Chris Boswell, 88.3%. So even Vinatieri, who is I think he's going to the Hall of Fame with all his timely kicks and Super Bowls and things like that on top of his great numbers, he is kicking better than he was. That is insane to think about. And you look at the longevity that he could have. Chris Boswell's only been kicking since 2015. Vinatieri kicked from 1996 to 2019. That's over 20 years. That's over 2 decades of kicking. Morton Anderson, 1982 to 2007. Again, that's 25 years. That's a quarter century of kicking. Stenerud, 67 to 85. Again, actually, no, that's not 20 years. That's 18 years, but pretty doggone close, and you get my point. Chris Boswell was going to make this money somewhere in the NFL, and the Steelers are happy that he's making the money there because when he's in the game, Steelers fans, you're feeling good about it. And in fact, in the playoffs, he's 16 for 16 in field goals. And the most recent Steelers playoff win was because he went 6 for 6, still the most kicks made in a field goal game in NFL history. Now, he has missed 2 extra points in the playoffs, but still, you'll take that if you're getting all the other production that this guy gives. I'm sorry, but this just makes the most sense. And as the Steelers are in training camp and we're doing a full episode, this is just a partial episode, a breaking news update, as I tell you that we give you here on the Locked On Steelers podcast that you can find on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, and YouTube. This is just one of those things because this is important because they had to find a way to keep Chris Boswell around, and they showed him, hey, we honor it. We believe in you. And Chris Boswell, just last year, he was 10th in field goal percentage with 90%. But again, when you look at the longevity of it, when you look at how long he's been this consistent, there's guys who get hot every once in a while and play really well for a little bit and then go away. There's guys who bounce around the league. He's not a bouncer. He's been strictly consistent. And if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're going to be a defensive team. And when you're a defensive team, your offense is going to need a field goal kicker. Chris Boswell, the only one you can say is even better is Justin Tucker in the NFL right now. So that being said, I think it's a crucial move. I'll take it back. Not a crucial move, but it's a smart move for the Pittsburgh Steelers to keep him around and get him at that price. Yes, he's the highest paid kicker in NFL history, tied with Justin Tucker. But when you produce like Chris Boswell, you've earned it. We'll talk more about what happened at training camp right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques. Be back on your screens and in your ears very soon.